Well, hello BAME Farm fans. We're out here and I guess we'll say the crowning achievement of the summer. Something that's going well for once, and it's by the road. Oh, yes. So neighbors don't see a total mess. Woo, yeah. So what do we have out here? Well, we have a lot of squash. Now if we look down at my feet, look at that. I mean, there's, a couple small weeds, but it's very weed free. So my spraying thing worked. I came back out here late. The first video you could see over yonder ways towards the driveway and house there, that we had, by we, I mean me, had sprayed a few rows, and then I ran into issues with the sprayer. It sprung a leak, it was shooting everywhere, and I'm like, this is gonna be a mess. So I called it quits. We did some tinkering, sealed up the leak properly, because we'd already tried to seal the leak before and it was still springing a leak. So I fixed that. Sprayed between the rows. And right here, these squashes, or gourds, these are gourds. These have the white blooms. These are kind of like the birdhouse style, the green things, the swans, birdhouses, apples, caveman's club, snakes. They're in this area where the white blooms are. And there's some yellow blooms, and those are your more traditional gourds, like the crown of thorns, things with warts, kind of little spoons. And yeah, so I came back out here and sprayed, and the vines were getting very big. Like, they're getting close to getting off the plastic, and I was afraid I was going to kill them. I guess I didn't. They're still growing. I need to work on cleaning up the ends of my rows a little better, as I didn't do that very well here. Now this spot I did. Didn't clean this up well because these squash were growing over. This is zucchini and yellow squash in these two rows. It was too tall, so I didn't try to take the sprayer down it, and it's a little overgrown in between them, but everything else is nice and clean. So yep, ended up not doing that paint roller thing. Hey look, we even got, hey look, a watermelon. Watermelons, little baby watermelons. They needed the rain. Now we had rain. Friday and Saturday we got 2 inches. That's the first rain in a while that I really wanted. I mean, that's sad. I was glad to have that rain. The forecast at the time was a little dicey, where we could have had rain for 5 days. Looks like it might just be clouds and not so much rain. If I come out here and try not to step on too many vines, I got some sugar baby watermelons. Melons. Unfortunately, I only did 2 rows. I don't know why we just did 2 rows of watermelon. I feel like we could go through so many more. And there's cucumbers, 2 kinds of cucumbers over there. Popcorn's growing well. Can't see anything in front of the popcorn. Beans are out behind that. So let's go back and see what the rest of the stuff's doing. Now we're coming back behind the greenhouse. Now this was some of the later planted tomatoes. You can see there's a less green one right there. Look how big they are. There's some nice tomatoes, and they're not splitting out. Which, after the rain, sometimes we worry about that. Those might have been small enough before the rain. The peppers look wonderful. That one's getting there. They won't turn. The peppers don't turn for us until later in the summer. They need the heat, which we're having like a really cool, at least a week, maybe 2 weeks right now. Compared to the rest of the summer that was in the 90s, we're only in the 80s, but it is overcast. Now, you can see how well these are growing. They're outgrowing their cages. I wish we had taller cages. Now back here, as you can tell, I didn't spray. We've just come back here and with the weed whacker and chop the weeds off. So it's not bad. It's not perfect, but there's, we could say we have our cover crop down the rows to have some greenery. The okra's taken off, except those couple of plants look really bad, and I don't know why. Was it too wet? Okra likes it hot and dry. And now back here behind the greenhouse there's a gentle slope before it goes down the hill. And I think those guys have too much water. We didn't do the raised beds. Now where we came from out front, there were raised beds and everything's up and they're doing their job. It's great. We're growing something out there despite being swamped. Yeah, it's not the greatest place. I wouldn't call it wetland. There's been some part of the drainage issue out there is previous owners have wantonly dumped gravel behind the grain bins because they wanted to use that as their grain handling area, set up a dryer, put grain in the bins, have the auger and whatnot. It's interfered with the natural flow, and usually we don't have this much rain every year, so we're fine. We don't have to irrigate. Now we need like anti-irrigation. The only thing that's not doing well is the cabbage. The cabbage is just getting eaten up with all this moisture. Bugs like moisture too. They need a little bit of a wetness for the eggs to survive. If there's no moisture, the eggs will die. Well, we've had the moisture. So yeah, we're just kind of roaming around in the peppers. These are some fun little things, these snack peppers. They're real sweet. Something new Mom wanted to try this year. They're better than the sweet banana peppers. They're much sweeter. They're like a bell pepper that's turned and then adds some more sweetness. And the eggplant look wonderful. The eggplant can take a little bug pressure. The okra really takes bug pressure. We tell people if they have issues with Japanese beetles in the roses, that the okra, they can take it. You put the okra, it'll attract the Japanese beetles away from the roses, and the okra will survive, which is getting ready to cut. Man, I did not realize this had not liked that rain. I don't know what happened. And then we have a row of potatoes. The plastic's our friend. It's really keeping the weeds down pretty well. It's not breaking down yet. It's biodegradable. It's 8 mil. We'd been using 6. The 6 wasn't lasting. The beans are a mess because the beans didn't come up. And then we never tore them out because it was too wet. Here's the lima bean attempt. These cucumbers and squash in these 2 rows have already done their thing. We never did get to do any weed control, but they did well for their cucumbers. And then we're going back to tomatoes. These were the, I guess, second group after those ones in the raised bed. And look, these Amish paste tomatoes are turning. These things are like giant Romas. They're awesome. And then the cherry tomatoes. Now if we look up here, yeah, we've only been weed eating between these rows too, which is getting really hard because the tomatoes are growing over. Yeah, about in this area, roughly, I had the chicken trailers sitting all winter with the chickens. So what do chickens do? They eat, they poop, and they lay eggs. Keyword, they poop. So there's tons of chicken manure in that spot. And of course, we planted the cherry tomatoes right there. Cherry tomatoes grow like weeds. Like these grapes down here, these are a manageable size. You can get in, you can pick them, they're not too tall. That's not bad. Which I didn't have the chickens as much down towards this end. And the Romas, you guys don't look fantastic, but you're putting tomatoes on and they're turning. That row of peppers got a little weedy. And the melons, same thing. They vined out off the plastic. These are our fancy, expensive cantaloupe seeds over here. They vined off the plastic before we could get in to do anything between the rows. So at least we have one success story for the neighbors to see out front. But now that we got that sprayer contraption figured out, it's just a backpack sprayer on a like a garden cart. And we got 2 flat fan tips. I'll probably highlight that, I guess, next year when I get to that. There's some nice turners. Yeah, but you can see the difference you can see where the cutoff is. I don't think we change varieties down here. We might. But I know about where I had the fence. And this is the cutoff line. And you can see the difference from like row to row and then going down that way. And then we get to the wet spot at the far end where it holds water off the driveway. So yep, they're growing like crazy. Most of it's doing well. I mean, not everything does well every year. That's why we grow lots of different vegetables to spread out the risk. This is probably one of the better years we've had for sweet corn, surprisingly. I don't know how. I'm very surprised on the sweet corn. We had sweet corn right after July 4th, like the day after. Come over to our raised bed here. We already dug the row of potatoes out. We have potatoes next to it, and the tomatoes are turning and turning. We're gonna have tons of tomatoes this week off of this row. And there's asparagus over there. And hiding, there's cabbage. That was probably a bad idea. Cabbage isn't getting much sun. Now cabbage can tolerate shade. Brassicas like it cool. I don't know if they do well in low sunlight. We'll have to see. Yep, tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. These are big beef. They're supposed to be an indeterminate variety, so they should produce all summer. However, they're really coming on in one big flush right now. We mostly plant indeterminate varieties to have tomatoes throughout the summer. If we were home canning with only I don't know, a few dozen plants, we'd plant a determinate variety, which that's what Romas are. Romas are determinate. In about 2 weeks' time, they'll have all their tomatoes ripen at once. And so you get a big flush for canning of a bunch of tomatoes. Since we're trying to have tomatoes all season, we plant the non-determinants. Yep, that's a weedy mess. Yep. You always hate to have to always say there's always next year, but there's always next year. Now that we got a system figured out, we're very heavily looking at that raised bed layer, either buying one or getting like top of the list to borrow that one we borrowed this year, because it was wonderful. I mean, that garden out front looks spectacular. I should take you back to the sweet corn, but it's corn, looks like corn. It's way back there. I don't feel like walking back there right now. That could be a whole separate video. We've been green chopping already. We've green chopped a few patches off. Had some of it blow down in a rainstorm. Yeah, that's why I hate rain. We had our first patch of sweet corn got blown down. That was delightful picking, like on our hands and knees. Maybe I'll get a picking video. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll take you guys out picking one day to show that fun process. It's mostly handwork. I guess easy, as long as the corn's not on the ground. We try to grow the taller varieties, so the raccoons can't get to it. Okay, well, let you guys enjoy the tomatoes. We'll see you next time with more fun farming action.